Welcome to CommercialDrones.fm, the podcast that explores the commercial drone industry, the people who power it, and the concepts that drive it. I'm your host, Ian Smith. Hey everybody, welcome to CommercialDrones.fm. I am sitting here in San Francisco with the co-founder and director of business development at Delft Aerial Robotics. 4 years ago, he co-founded Aerialtronics, and at Delft Aerial Robotics, he's created an ecosystem for researchers, startups, and industry professionals that's fully committed to solve the automated drone workflow challenge. His name is Lucas van Oostrum. He's currently based in Amsterdam, so thank you so much for coming to join the show in San Francisco today, Lucas.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Always nice to be in San Francisco.
Excellent. So speaking of which, so you're based in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
You're based in Amsterdam, to be specific. Is San Francisco the heart of the drone industry?
I would say there's a lot of drone activity going on in San Francisco. Yes, there are a lot of companies here. But don't underestimate the French. Although a lot of the French companies actually move here once they become a little bit successful.
That's very true.
Right?
Redbird, Delertec.
Yeah. So that's happening. But no, there's a lot of activity here. So for me, it's always, like San Francisco is my second home. I'm here a lot, almost every month, because there's so much going on here.
Yeah, we just saw each other just last month, actually. I think you were in town for the Drones Data X conference.
Yeah, which was a lot of fun.
That's right. Absolutely. I think you guys went to that extra weekend at the end, too.
Yeah, I do some surfing.
Ah, that's a really cool, very unique way of doing a conference, but pretty cool. So speaking of the Netherlands, and this is obviously a commercial drone show, what are the commercial drone regulations like in the Netherlands?
Okay, so first of all, maybe you should tell your listeners where Netherlands is. Most people think it's in the Nordics, or they know it's maybe in Europe. So most people call it Holland because that resonates a little bit more. But Amsterdam, some people think Amsterdam is a country. Well, Amsterdam is actually the capital of Netherlands, so
perfect.
We got that out of the way.
They have good cheese in Amsterdam, and that's a good country.
Yeah, the Netherlands is a very small country, like very small. And because it's so small, back in the day, they used to, that was one of their hobbies, to conquer a lot of, other countries. So we had a lot of colonies. That was, they were, but what that says about the Netherlands is they were traders. They're traders by heart. So
very seafaring people.
Yeah, because they're a small country. They're always looking outward, and they have this really strange language called Dutch. Nobody speaks it. Yeah, maybe South Africans. It's like but nobody speaks Dutch, right?
Yeah.
So that's why a lot of people speak English in the Netherlands. So if you go to the bakery or the grocery shop, people speak English. So we've used to trade. So if you look at the drone regulations in the Netherlands, they're very, very tough. So when we started...
Tough as in, like, it's really hard?
Very restricted. Very restricted.
Okay.
So it's very restricted because, we might be traders, but we're also very risk averse when it comes to funding, but also to regulations. We're very risk averse. And so what you see is that... when we started Aerialtronics, like my previous company, so first we were these cowboys. We started in 2011. We were these cowboys. We just did everything that what we liked, right?
Yeah.
We were building a product, so we wanted to test it, and we flew it off a roof. We had this little roof at our office, and we just flew it. We just did it.
Was it one of those offices? Was it in Amsterdam?
No. Actually, It was at a small harbor town called Scheveningen.
Okay.
Can you repeat that? Scheveningen?
Scheveningen.
Yeah. Well, so it was a harbor town, a coastal town, and we flew it off the roof. We did all our interviews, everything there. People wanted to see it. No, it was really fun.
What year was this?
2011 when we started. But then, obviously we became a more serious company, so we had to abide by the rules, abide by most of the rules. So actually, that's also but. By doing that, we saw that, for us, it was very interesting to actually start exporting straight away. So
exporting Aerialtronics.
We made
drone hardware.
Yeah, we made drone. We built drones. Yeah. very nice monocoque frame, carbon fiber drones for commercial purposes. And actually, we exported a lot. So we had like 96% of our drones were not sold in the Netherlands. Apart from the Netherlands being a small country, with the restrictions, it was very difficult to run our business just in the Netherlands. And that's also why we went to the States a lot, and we looked at places where we had a good market, where we could sell.
Was the U.S. leading the import of those Aerialtronics platforms at the time?
No. I think UK was very interesting because there, they had some rules and regulations in place, very early on. So UK was a very good country for us, but it was spread out through anywhere. Australia, we sold to the Australia police, which was only all the way to the other side of the globe, but it's so, and you start to see what are the applications. Is it security? Is it construction? Is it so? And you move into that. And our vision from the start was, we were interested in building the applications on top of the hardware. But first you need hardware. So I know when for one of the first investors that I talked to, for Dutch, was a very big investor. Very big name in the Netherlands, and he said, okay, the first thing he said, okay, but you make hardware. It's so simple to copy, right? What's your thing? I said, okay, well, first we need the hardware, then we can build the software, right? And he said, okay, you're never gonna make it because it's just gonna be commodity. Well, if you now look, 5 years later, how many companies build a proper drone? Ask yourself that question. How many manufacturers are there of actually good quality drones? I could only name, DJI, is probably on top of that list. Maybe Unique is coming along. Then you have Parrot. Parrot makes an awesome, Sensefly makes an awesome EB. But then if you look at the EB, they've been saying that they come out with a simple multi-rotor, which takes a very long time before the XOM comes on. Yeah. So it's
not called the XOM anymore. They have to change the name to... I don't know what it's called.
Okay, it's called something different. But and Parrot is a big company, right?
Oh, yeah.
But even creating such a simple thing as everyone thinks as a multi-rotor is difficult. Why? Because you need quality control. Why? Because if you build a little car or you build some other electronics like a radio or something, if it stops, if it breaks down, it just stands there. If a drone stops, it falls out of the sky. So if you need really good quality control and really good quality stuff. And what we found out at Aerialtronics, we had so many crashes, so many things, but we learned a lot from it. The ESCs, your wiring, interference, everything. But you have to think of so many things and then find the right parts. And if the right parts are not there, build them yourself, manufacture them yourself. And it's very difficult. So the barrier to enter is actually to go into that hardware. It is very difficult. Look at 3D robotics, for example, with the Solo. It's not a big success because it's hard and still is hard to do some good, proper manufacturing.
Hardware is hard. The Solo's on the Amazon Prime Day. Today's Amazon Prime Day, if anyone's interested. And so it's heavily discounted, like 40% off. I think they just announced a thermal sensor today, but they didn't name who. I'm imagining it's not FLIR because FLIR has that DJI partnership. So I don't think that...
FLIR can partner with anyone, right?
That's true. If I was DJI, I would definitely have tried to ink in some exclusivity.
Yeah, maybe for a short term, but short period. Yeah, but so building hardware is difficult, and that's so. If you look at other, and everyone has been in that difficult position. So what are we gonna do, right? So. For example, a company you work for as well, Drone Deploy, they were selling hardware at first as well. Part of the hardware, Precision Hawk. There's so many companies that did that. Skycatch, for example, they had a whole solution.
Still going
from
with
a box. Yeah,
Gasperi.
Yeah, Gasperi. So it's difficult to do that. But you need hardware to build your software stack on top, right? So you need to. That was for us. There was a also steep learning curve.
So
and
what was your path into the drone industry? We kind of jumped right into it. So how did you even start? How did you get into Aerialtronics? Like, what was the light bulb moment that went off over your head?
Okay, but so actually I've always been very interested in computers, how they tick, how they work. You know, I'm more like a computer hacker. I like to break into systems and see how they worked. Ethical hacker, obviously.
Of course.
Yeah. For one of the events that we organized, like golf tournaments, I was doing all kinds of technology for golf tournaments, and then there was this guy I was introduced to him by a friend of ours, and he said, "Yeah, you need to get some aerial shots, man." I said, "Yeah, I cannot afford a helicopter." He said, "No, he's doing it with a drone," and they call it little radiographic helicopter. Drone was not used, but then so the guy came, and I really liked it. Was in 2009 or 2000? Yeah, I think 2009 or 2010, and it was. I was really blown away about the product.
This was in the Netherlands.
It was in the Netherlands. It was in the Netherlands, and it was actually.
Wait, hold on. Netherlands big enough to have golf courses? Or is the whole country of Amsterdam?
Yeah, probably we have
course?
One golf course. So for the European tour, we have one golf course that we. Yeah, okay. So yeah. Okay. Anyways, but that was the so as I met, and I saw that thing, and I really loved it. And back then, you know, it was a microcopter. So there's a thing that you have to solder together. You know, you have to do really a bit of work to get it together. It flew for 8 minutes. And it was one of the hardest things to actually control. But with this guy, my partner in Aerialtronics, which I found Aerialtronics with, he was so good. He was a good pilot. He could keep that thing in the air.
This was before it had GPS stability control?
It had GPS, but don't expect too much from it because, you know, fly away was more, it always flew away, right? So you had to... But this guy, and he flew almost everything by hand. It was always scary to fly. I know that when we started, we did a lot of production work as well. So for people we flew, and we were always so nervous. So one time we took, so there was this, actually for a golf tournament, they thought it would be nice to do the kickoff on the highest building in Holland, which is like a 300-foot building or 400-foot building. The highest skyscraper in Holland. Well, if you can call it a skyscraper. Anyways, we were on the rooftop, and there were these antennas, right? These directional antennas for telecommunication.
Uh-huh.
And we were taking off, and he was flying, and he was coming too close to the antenna. And this was with the old technology, with all the open hardware, like this old PCBs.
Yeah, flying PCB boards.
And then I saw it happen. It started wiggling, and then it went over the side of the roof, you know, middle of Rotterdam. You know, it would crash into people and everything. And he was great. He managed to recover and land the and nobody noticed what happened, but we were like so afraid. And then he said, I'm never gonna fly again.
It's changed so much. So just for example, I was at the Intersolar conference here in San Francisco, and you just look at a Phantom 4, for example. Just as an example, DJI has a little cage that they fly around their drones in at conferences, and there's definitely not GPS inside. They just have that optical flow and those little sonar sensors, and that thing locks onto a point on the ground, and it just like hovers there like a rock. So technology's come quite a long way in the past couple of years.
That's so cool. So I know when I first got into contact with DJI was at the NAB conference. It was 2012. Yeah, it was 2012. So spring 2012, and you had this. We were at NAB at the broadcast conference in Vegas. We were at Sony.
What does NAB stand for? It's a national aerial.
No. It's a broadcast conference. So there are two big broadcast conferences in the world where all the studios.
Association of Broadcasters.
Yeah, something. But so every studio, every TV station, they come there to get their gear.
Yeah.
So you have cameras like big halls full of cameras, of equipment, of jibs, of sky jibs, everything. And now you have your own drone area. But then back then, only Sony was exhibiting with our drone. We branded it Sony for all their customers, and we flew it out in the desert with them, with their customers. And you had this little booth by DJI. And there was a guy who made gimbals as well, photo hire, which from New Zealand, and he was actually pretty good at that as well. But the cool thing was, so Frank, one of the top guys at DJI, he was flying the I don't know, like the thing before the S1000.
The flame wheel.
Yeah, he was flying that in the exhibition hall over people, and he was just
before they realized what they could do.
No, but they already were selling, all these kits, and it was before the Phantom came out.
Yeah,
and they were selling all these kits, and he was just flying it indoors, and nobody knew about risks or anything. The year after, they were flying outdoors, and after that, cages and everything. Yeah. But it's 2012, 2013, you really saw the rise of
you
DJI.
Just take the drone to the conference, don't need any permission, just take it off, and you're good to go.
Yeah, exactly. And they were flying it indoors and everything. Yeah, so that's, but it has come a long way in those years.
It has, yeah.
Yeah, and technology has so improved, but there's still so many opportunities.
Speaking of that, so Delft Aerial Robotics, we mentioned that. That's currently what you're doing right now.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
What is Delft Aerial Robotics for someone who has no idea what it is? First of all, Delft is a...
Technical, yeah. So Delft has a technical university.
Delft is a city, yeah.
It's a city in Netherlands. It has a university specialized in technology, right? Mm-hmm. So you can do all your engineering courses there. And it has, for example, so on the drone space, it has already it's called their Micro Air Vehicle Lab. For the last 10 years, they've been working on drone technology. On hybrid systems, they have the record for smallest and lightest camera drone in the world. It's 3 grams. I don't know how to translate that into a different system, but it's very, 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 very light.
It's like
flapping
a wasp.
wing drones, yeah, like a wasp. It's called the Delft Fly Micro. But okay. So they but Delft. So I studied in Delft. I never finished my education, but I did quite. I spent quite a number of days there. But what they did is that's pretty cool. So they found out that they had 200 robotic researchers at Delft, which after MIT, they're second in the world when it comes to robotic researchers. Right. So they do a lot of robotic research there. So they combined that, and we created something called Robo Valley. Well, obviously, resembles Silicon Valley, Robo Valley, but we tried to get industry, so companies, research, and government together, actually to create this ecosystem where robotics and robotics companies and research could really be accelerated by bringing all those entities together.
Yeah.
Creating also spaces where companies could start a company, interact with the labs, interact with. So at the campus, you now have 3 buildings, which are occupied by these robotic companies, by the researchers, and they all work together to actually accelerate robotic research. Okay. And one of the things that happened recently is that we started a 100 million euro fund, which translates into what? 110,
180.
110, 120
the exchange rate,
yeah. The exchange rate is pretty good. So probably it's now 110 or something. But anyways, it's so that was actually started to also fund that ecosystem. So make sure that the startups and scale-ups have access to money, because one of the things that is really different from here, Bay Area and Europe, is that the access to money is you have a much better access to money. Obviously, you still have to do a pitch, but in Europe, people are very risk averse when it comes to funding.
Yeah.
Right? You can get some seed funding, but then after seed funding, you're on your own until you are making a profit, and then there's ample money again.
Cool.
So we wanted to cover that, and the way we did it is by starting a fund, getting a Canadian fund manager, of getting a Canadian fund manager company in to actually manage the fund. So what we did was just create this ecosystem, and within this ecosystem, make sure that everyone is connected, so you can accelerate. And then
what's the goal? The end goal?
No, the end goal is there to have if you want to do something in robotics in the world, go there. Be the first. So give
not
you
just drones.
No, to give you an example, Delft ended second in the Hyperloop competition for only MIT won. Okay, I don't know if I can say this because they're American, right? and but still the Dutch are still working on the Hyperloop project because they had a very good idea. Delft just won, one of our companies in our ecosystem just won the Amazon Picking Challenge this year. So
picking
challenge, yeah. So what Amazon, that Amazon has huge warehouses, right?
Oh yeah.
But their warehouses are just driving shelves. So the shelves are driving through the warehouse, and then a human, picks out the product and puts it in, like in a cart. But
so a robot does it instead.
Yeah, but because you have so many different products, soft and hard, you cannot squeeze the product. So picking it is already a challenge. Then recognizing the product and then putting it in the right bin is very difficult. So but Delft won it this time. So those are just a couple of examples, right? We are in haptics. We're very good. So I don't know if you know haptics, but it's with a if you're controlling something, you want at one place, you want to be able to steer a robot arm at the other end and mimic exactly what you're doing.
Well, with the same amount of force or something.
Yeah, and they made it actually more difficult. So they did the movement on the ground, and then it was mimicked in the International Space Station. So they performed the task, and you have a delay. So
it's the Robonaut? Is that the Robonaut on the space station?
I don't know what the name is of the arm they used.
My dad actually might have had a part in that. He works at NASA and works on the Robonaut, which is up on the space station.
Okay, cool. No,
robotics background.
Yeah, so I just want to give some examples how broad this is, right?
Yeah.
But with a lot of this technology, you see common things like the need for sensors, right? You have them in drones, you have them in ground robots. So development of sensors is very important. Then you have AI, like artificial intelligence, machine learning. You see that in a lot of things. If it's visual data or it's different data, but you want to learn, so machine learning is a hot topic. But and big data, those are topics that you see all over the place when it comes to robotics. So, this is the ecosystem. So what we then did, because my passion is with drones. So we started a company called Delft Aerial Robotics. Me and my two partners, Ari and Bart. And Bart had been running the micro air vehicle lab for the last 10 years.
Okay.
So he joined, and the university is also a shareholder in a company. Okay. Because that way we can leverage the IP from the university, which is nice. So we have access to all those robotic researchers. And our goal is to roll out a fully autonomous drone network.
That's what I was waiting for. So this is something that really inspired me when we last met. You were telling me about your plans, just fully automating the drone workflow and taking the human out of the loop. So I've been kind of latching on to that as my idea of the future, and it just makes a hell of a lot of sense, and making these drones truly, the quote unquote drones that kind of think for themselves. So why haven't we automated that workflow yet? Why are we not there yet? How come this is not the reality that we live in today?
Because I started by saying that manufacturing a drone itself is already very complicated. So if you want to, I always look at 4 steps that you have to automate to come to full automation, right? So you have to make the drone fly and navigate autonomous, which is the first step. So it needs to recognize objects. It needs to be aware of its surroundings. It needs to be able to fly itself. It needs to know when its battery runs low and it has to fly to its little nest to recharge. Those things, the flying itself is the first step, right? And we're making great progress. And that's that progress is not coming just from Delft. It's coming from companies like Parrot, DJI, Unique. They've been working on that, but also Intel, right, with their RealSense, and there's a lot of work being done there, which is very, very interesting. But that's the first. That's the first step. The second step is in the sensing itself. So using sensors, using cameras, using sniffers, to actually see something, to capture information.
Okay.
Well, some of the sensors, like hyperspectral sensors, still are in development, are still very expensive. But if you really want to say something about your surroundings, there's a lot of work to be done on the sensors. And you want the drone to automatically capture that information. And capturing that information can be a challenge by itself because, you want the drone to see if the lighting conditions are good, or there's already in the capturing of the data, or saying, hey, do we have enough overlap when we're doing mapping? You want to do that in a drone, because otherwise you don't have a human that when you get the data says, that data is good or it's not good, we have to do another flight. So there's some technology needs to be, or some intelligence already needs to be in there. Thirdly, so the third thing that's also important is when you get the data, you want to be able to process the data. But data is data, right? You want to turn it into information.
Yeah.
So turning it into information, well, that's what, coming back to your company, Drone Deploy, that's what you guys do as well. You turn like chunks of imagery, you turn it into sensible data, sensible information for the end user, which is the farmer. And then even extra added to that, also to that, turning it into information, an NDVI map. Okay, that's one of the oldest things around, NDVI. But NDVI by itself doesn't say that much.
Exactly.
So you need an agronomist most of the times now to make sense of that information and turn it into actable information that the farmer can act upon, right? So that's the step 3 combined.
Gotcha.
So creating information. And then for us, the fourth step is, once you have the information, you have to act upon that information. So you want to be able to share that information, like Internet of Things, Internet of Everything, with other machines. So if we take the farm example, you want to have the irrigation system, be able to act upon it, or the fertilizer machine, right? The fertilizer robot. Because if you look in agriculture, a lot of the systems are completely GPS guided. Or, if a farmer sits on the machine, he's reading his newspaper because he needs to be on it. But the machine is doing actually the rest. Oh yeah,
tons of smart tech. And farming was one of the
so the 1, 2, 3, 4. So
adopted it.
So the flying, the collecting, the processing, and then the sharing of the information, acting on that. Okay. That's what we see. So what we do is, we want to roll out this fully autonomous drone network, and that's a dot on the horizon. Yeah, it will take some time to get that to that stage. But what we do is we invest in companies that solve part of the solution, and we make partnerships with companies that already supply tech. Because in the end, we want to be a network operator.
Do those companies have to be Dutch, or can they be anywhere?
No, they can. They can be anywhere. That's the whole thing. We don't look at boundaries. We don't. I'm also not very precious about that. I don't want to create everything myself. There's so many companies that try to stick to that they want to do everything themselves. And you see, you need people that specialize in certain types of technology or in software. So that's why we invest in separate companies, and we don't try to create everything on our own brand. And we want to really focus on rolling out that network, making sure that legislation allows us to do it, making sure that we have the right tech to do it.
Legislation. So here, this was my next question.
Okay,
Are we held back more right now by technology or legislation or regulation on making this a reality, this fully autonomous drone network?
No, I think it's a bit of both. Although a lot of companies probably would claim that they have like the perfect solution already to do it fully autonomous. I think we are, when it comes to, we're not even at the Tesla phase. If you look at Tesla, at their autopilot, I think we're a little bit before that, but everything is going pretty rapidly. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. But
How long do you think it'll take then until we're fully automated?
I think I would say that it takes another 3 years, which is a long time.
Is there a point? So your career is definitely not even close to being over. Is there a point that you sit back at some point in the future, you take a seat, you exhale very deeply, we're fully automated, we're doing it.
Yeah,
and that you're totally satisfied and that you have no more work to do? Or is there always going to be?
It's okay. That's the 10 years of iPhone moment, right? Now you have 10 years of iPhone. They will come out with a new phone, but nobody cares anymore because it already works. Yeah, a better camera, whatever. A better resolution, whatever. You don't need that. So we have to go through that whole phase. We're almost at the iPhone stage, where you have a good iPhone, and then we can improve it a couple of years, and more apps come to it. But then once we have the 10-year-old iPhone, then then we're at that same.
So for you, has there been, looking back at your career in the drone industry, which has spanned back to 2011, has there been a key moment so far that sticks out at you in drone technology, in the drone industry, like something that you really noticed and you noted in your mind and you thought, how much we've made so much progress? Like, was there a point that you felt that way?
I can talk about myself, but I can name a lot of points, but I would say that the DJI Phantom is the biggest thing that happened in the last couple of years, because what they did something really unique. Where everyone was just building drones, gluing everything together. We were making a very nice covert thing, but building it at that price, producing it in like mass quantities, same quality for everyone, GPS, really easy interface to control the drone itself. That was a huge thing. The Phantom really changed a lot of the things that were happening in the drone industry, and everything what happened afterwards, obviously with their APM, a lot of things happened. But I think that was a masterful move by DJI. The Phantom is really what made that company big, and gave it, and made the technology accessible by anyone. You could buy. I think that was one of the major things that happened. Another major thing that happened is on legislation side, right? So here in the US, that there finally is a rule that is a very, very key and big moment. I would say that it already started when they started with the 333 exemptions. I know that we were, I think it was 2 years ago in the 2013 or something, or 14.
14, I think.
Yeah, 14 in December. There were 33 exemptions only, or 22 or something. Yeah, and then they still had, and all these commercial companies want to start working with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's awesome. It's a big thing. So last question, or last thought, actually.
Okay.
Not really a question. I'm just going to kind of leave it open. You founded your fair share of companies. I checked out your LinkedIn, co-founder of Aerialtronics, so drone company. You're in robotics still. You're already still founding companies. What is one piece of advice you would give to new entrepreneurs in the drone industry, specifically the drone industry?
My first piece of advice is first, look what's already around. Secondly, look at what a customer wants. And sometimes it's just very simple, right? Simple things. It can be very simple things. But listen to your customer. Thirdly, form a good team. Never underinvest in your team. Get the best people. If you this industry is moving so damn fast, you cannot settle for just a student team or whatever. Students can be perfect on your team to grow into the company, but you need some really good guys to on that. And fourth, and most importantly, have a lot of fun, because it's really cool to be in this industry. And enjoy it, because you're building something. We're just at the start of this industry, so enjoy every minute of it, and enjoy building with your colleagues, with other companies. Enjoy building this really cool new empire.
Wise advice from Lucas van Oostrum. So everybody, Lucas, once again, so co-founder and director of business development at Delft Aerial Robotics, which is a city in the Netherlands, not to be confused with the country of Amsterdam, and co-founded Aerialtronics. Thank you so much for joining us, Lucas. Really, really appreciate you coming all the way from Amsterdam for this interview, and hope you have a very safe trip back. You guys can follow Lucas on Twitter at Dutch Creators. You can go ahead and check out the website of Delft Aerial Robotics at darfly.com, DARFLY. And if you would, please go ahead, if you like the podcast, you can go ahead and subscribe on iTunes or whatever you listen to the podcast on. Leave a rating or a review, or you can go ahead and shoot us a message or join the conversation on Twitter by tweeting us or following at Drones Podcast. And on Facebook, we are facebook.com/Drones Podcast. Any last parting words, Lucas?
No, if you have never been to San Francisco, go and get inspired.
Awesome. I like that advice. Hit me up if you're here. Alrighty.
Thanks.
Have a good one. Thanks, guys.
Right.
Appreciate it. Cheers.
Socks on concrete, Jolly Rancher kids. I was talking back and now I gotta stay at grandma crib. Bunch of tank top, nappy headed bike stealing.